And we're here with Mitch Pearlstein from the class of 1970. So to get us started, talk about what you are doing now.
Well, for the last 20 years, I've run a conservative free market think tank in the Twin Cities, an organization I founded with a number of other folks in the late 80s. And that followed a career in journalism, education, and government, to sum it up.
So we're here to talk about college career citizenship, the challenge of all, a very broad topic, and certainly a forum for you to bring your experiences to the table. What do you plan to talk about during the discussion this afternoon?
Well, I'll probably wind up agreeing with just about everything that my colleagues talk about, but I'll bring I suspect it might be a bit of a different perspective, because I focus on the culture as much, if not more, than on policy. And I'm very much concerned about what's happening in the nation, has been for quite a while. When it comes specifically to lots and lots of kids growing up in really chaotic situations, the United States has the highest family fragmentation rate in the world, and the implications for that, for education and for the economy and the rest are severe.
So what other trends have you noticed and feel are of particular concern? Is there anything you see that really gives sort of a glimmer of hope and says that maybe we're kind of going in a direction that's positive?
Well, I've been very pleased over the last number of decades, and our colleague Mike Cohen has played a very large role in this in terms of strengthening curricula, accountability, and the rest across the country. Rigor matters, intensity matters. My concern is, however, among others, there are exceptional programs out there, no question. I'm focusing now K-12. Bringing them to scale is a lot harder exercise than most people assume.
So how do you feel your time here at Binghamton as a student helped to prepare you for what you've done during your career and what you're doing here today?
There might be two answers or three answers there. Anytime you get really good faculty together with really smart students, I can be a bit glib and say, what else do you need? And this place had a lot of really good faculty and a lot of really good students, and you test yourself. The fact that it's a beautiful surrounding as well is gravy. The second point is others will talk about their activities in the anti-war movement and the like. And without delving too deeply into those issues, I just assume not after 40 some odd years, you do pick up some leadership skills if you were involved in those activities back then. And then last, I come at it again from a bit of a different perspective, because I wound up working in the administration here in the early to mid-'70s in the Public Information Office, then at the University of Minnesota in the administration. And so I hit it not just from the perspective of a student, but someone who has worked in these institutions.
What do you think when you look at the students of today in a setting like Binghamton University or other colleges, as far as the differences that you notice between them and people of your generation, and other than the fact that people now are wired and tech savvy and always seem to be connected, do you see a large amount of differences or maybe more?
I try to stay away from sounding as if I'm a cover story with Time or Newsweek. Are they more tech savvy by leaps and bounds and more than that? But one way of looking at it, perhaps, I think back on my undergraduate life, and I came here as a sophomore. I didn't come as a freshman because I was a rotten student in high school and had to start elsewhere. In some ways, the most pressure-packed thing I've ever done in my life was getting an undergraduate education. And I trust it would have been the same thing at some other place. Going to school is not an easy thing to do if you do it right. And I trust lots of kids are working real hard and occasionally a tad stressed.
Talk about your time at Champlain Hall and what that meant to you and what that means to you now.
Well, one of the things about living in a dorm, it seems to me, is that that's your family. And you spend a lot of time with them. And if you're a jerk, they know you're a jerk. So you're obliged to be a better person. You're being tested all the time. For good or for ill, you're being watched all the time. Sometimes people are saying fair things or unfair things. But you don't really improve yourself as a human, it seems to me, unless you're being, you're in some kind of contrast. You're holding yourself up to something, and other folks are holding you up to a certain standard. You can't go solo, in other words.
All right, Mitchell Pearlstein from the class of 1970.
Thanks very much.